Hello, my name is Graham Hughes, and today we are doing an episode of Three Blokes in the Pub in Durham. We're in Durham, we're just by the old castle over there, which has got a full moon over it, which is very exciting. I'm joined today by Adam Lee, who's been in a couple of Three Blokes before. You came to Southampton with you, didn't you?
I did. I helped you down in Southampton for 2 videos, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, okay, good. And this is Paul Somerville, who you might recognise from the Three Blokes in Sunderland.
Hello.
So Adam's from Yorkshire, I'm from Liverpool, and
Newcastle.
Paul is from Newcastle. Well, you're actually from Gateshead, aren't you?
Technically, yeah.
Technically Gateshead. So we're from all over the north, and we are apparently the thick northern monkeys who all voted to leave, and for some reason the Labour people have to placate us.
I thought we were the liberal elite funded by George Soros.
I wondered how long it would take for you to mention George Soros. We're only like 1 minute in.
But you're saying we're the thick monkeys from the north.
Okay, but so it is today. It's Wednesday. The 20th.
It is an anniversary, Graham. Are you aware? It's an anniversary.
Wednesday, 20th of March.
It is 1,000 days since the referendum.
Wow, and do you know how much it's cost us so far in terms of assets in the City of London?
900 billion in banking assets.
It's $1 trillion.
A trillion pounds.
Trillion. To put that into context, the GDP of the United Kingdom is $2 trillion.
That is a staggering statistic.
£1 billion a day since we voted for Brexit. Yep. That's how much money has left the United Kingdom.
I don't remember seeing that on the side of a bus.
Definitely not.
I don't either. So we're here. It's just past 8:15. We've actually got the TV on down here in Paul's phone, and we're waiting for Theresa May to make a big announcement that she's going to make. But it looks like she's driving around.
She's been blue lighted.
She's been blue lighted.
Cardiac arrest.
No, because why is she driving?
Probably. Stress related.
Stress
You've got to feel sorry for her, really.
Infarction.
You've got to feel sorry for her. Who wants that job?
Do you honestly feel sorry for her? Because I kind of don't.
I no.
The hostile environment, sending a van around saying, you know, foreigners go home.
Windrush, deliberately shredding the arrivals cards of
I think
migrants invited here.
For all the misgivings and all the mistakes made, I think just what a job to be dealing with at the minute. Whether you're a Leaver or a Remainer, like how terrible this is. Getting up in the morning and realising you're going to have to deal with this is just a joke, you know?
Go a bit closer in.
Sorry, bro.
You're kind of hanging off the edge of the thing.
I'm leaning out. I'm on the edge.
I've got no time for it. But the only thing is that the short list, or even the long list, of alternatives in the Tory party at the moment is horrific.
Yeah, let's start with the leader in waiting, everyone's bête noire, Boris Johnson.
Oh, he'll be great. So last week he said that we shouldn't spend money on child abuse allegations.
Historical child abuse crimes.
And he used the term spaffing up the wall, which
his
is
exact words
to come.
Yes, we shouldn't be spaffing £60 million up the wall.
This is a guy who spaffed, how much was it? 53 million?
I thought you were going to mention his mistress there.
He spaffed £53 million of taxpayers' money on an invisible bridge.
A bridge that never got past the design stage, not even proper design. It was never even got past a concept.
I think just going back to the sort of the bloopers and the miss speaking, it's like, if you remember Miliband, when he ate a hot dog the wrong way or something, or a burger.
It was a bacon sandwich.
And it destroyed his political career, and then X amount of years in, and he's just, we've got people like Boris Johnson going, Muslims look like telephone boxes, and that's okay.
Oh, I forgot about that one. What an illustrious leader he would be.
Yeah, he's absolutely nuts.
Just the worst, isn't he?
Him versus Putin. You were great on that. Compare the Meerkat adverts. He's the Prince Philip of diplomats, isn't he?
Oh my word! And so we're in this mad situation where no one wants the job that Theresa May's doing. Not even Theresa May wants the job.
Yeah.
Nobody wants Brexit except for idiots at the moment.
From Marc Francois, who said that his father fought on the beaches of Normandy. I'm not disputing that. And he said, we will not take orders from Europe. This is a man who claims to be in the army. He said, I was trained not to lose. And this is a man who was actually in the territorial army and has watched reruns of Dad's Army.
Yeah, he's definitely got the physique of a man who's been trained not to lose. Wait.
Yeah.
Not knocking him, but it's ridiculous the way they talk.
Yeah,
what a situation to end up in. It's just a bit No, she's still taking her time.
Yeah, that's right.
Taking her sweet ass time.
She's making her hair look good at the moment.
But is there anyone left who still thinks this is a good idea? Actually, I just had the debate on TV with Andre, what's his name?
Andre Walker, I think.
Andre Walker. I looked him up on Google and before the debate, and a Hollywood hairdresser came up. But he honestly thinks Brexit's still going to be great, and he doesn't understand the difference, which we've talked about again and again in Three Blokes, of goods coming in and the tariffs that you set on them, and goods going out and the tariffs that are set on them by another country. And when people say, "Oh, we can set our own tariffs," it's like, yeah, that's great for stuff coming in. Well, it's not actually great for stuff coming in. It's a long and difficult negotiation, which takes a long time.
I think we touched on this in Southampton, Graham, that goods coming in, we can set the tariffs at whatever level we want under WTO rules, but for that particular good, so let's say it's a beer that may be coming in from the Netherlands, we would have to set the same tariff on zero on all beers coming in from everywhere, and this has massive ramifications because one of the tariff-free things that they've said last week in the event of no deal is steel. Now, I come from just outside Sheffield. I started my career in engineering in the steel industry, and Sheffield has lost so much of its steel industry, it's frightening. That wasn't down to the EU, that was down to Tories selling off our business and selling off the family silver. But zero tariffs on steel is going to decimate our steel industry even more.
But isn't there already zero tariffs with steel coming from the EU? Because that's what it originally started, wasn't it? It's coal and steel
community. Yes, there's zero tariffs on steel coming from the EU, but we've got similar economies to Germany and France, who are the other big steel producers in Europe, and I think Spain as well.
If it started to come from like China and different places
and India produce steel at a far lower cost to what we do in Europe, and that's throughout Europe. I mean, even in Russia they produce steel cheaper than what we do, and that's why these tariffs are put on. So when people bag the EU saying it's protectionist and all that, yes it is. It's protecting our business.
It's protecting us.
And we can keep our jobs.
I think that's the thing where you mentioned the deal, and the devil is in the deal with this, and people want to talk about slogans, but they don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. You know, they want to talk about mass immigration, but they don't want to talk about the EU directives on freedom of movement and how we can actually send people back if they don't have health insurance, if they don't have a job, if they don't have
or the means to fund themselves. Yeah.
And you know, multiple times I've had like particularly family members on the phone. I was like, that's all about immigration. It's all about. I was like, well, how about this? If they were to propose a system where again you can send them home after 3 months and they have to have a job, medical insurance, etc. And they're like, yeah, I'd be down for it 100%. I won't. That is literally the law. And well, maybe not. And then the backtrack, you know.
Come closer to me.
Sorry.
You're getting off the camera a little bit.
And it's off Theresa May's cliff edge. And like I said, people don't want to talk about the details. That's the issue. And they just want to talk about blue passports and fishermen.
And a new 50p piece. Woo-hoo. Which is now worth...
It's called a pound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus. So we're in a situation now where we are literally 1 week away from crashing out without a deal. We've had 2 meaningful votes, which really annoys me because why do the MPs get to vote on something again and again, but we don't get a second referendum? Actually, no, I don't want a second referendum. I want a first referendum without the cheating.
Without Aaron Banks influencing it with money,
without
illegal money. From goodness knows where. People say the democratic will of the people. The democratic will of the people. Money from where?
Well, if it was truly democratic and we had a vote, then we would know what the people wanted right now. But we're in a situation where the last survey I read, where they were talking about kids who had come online for voting since the referendum, only 9% of the people polled between the ages of 18 and 21 didn't want another referendum. Only 9%.
Staggering, isn't it?
I mean, a referendum without Nazis, that would do me. A referendum without a dead politician.
Yeah, like, referendum without a big lie on the bus.
Like,
vote leave was fined again yesterday, I believe.
Another 40,000.
And during the referendum campaign, I'm sure you remember Michael Gove saying we can do the easiest trade deals in history. I think it was one of them. We hold all the cards, him and Liam Fox. How's that going for you, Michael?
Yeah.
It's not gone very well. And you even sat there on the Andrew Marr show and said that we can expect food prices to go up if there's no deal. You voted for this. You supported this, Michael, and now you're backtracking, and nobody's holding any of them to account. And that's what...
He probably won't watch this video.
Yeah.
I was speaking to Michael personally, but I'm going to send him a link.
But in terms of all these mad arguments coming in now that we've totally established that, you know, we don't hold all the cards, it isn't going to be the easiest deal in history that's going to be done over a cup of tea. The mad arguments that are coming into play, me and Graham were sat here the other week doing another podcast. This guy walks past with a placard that said, God wants Brexit.
Yeah, God wants
And I'm like,
Brexit.
I'm pleased we're now at the stage where invisible men in the sky are influencing political decisions. Like, this is real life. This is England. It's not Trump America. It's not MAGA. We're in England. And people are saying, vote for this party because of God, or this policy because of God.
I seem to remember the bit in the Bible where it said, love thy neighbour. It didn't say, tell your neighbour to fuck off and be horrible to them
I think
and spread misinformation and lies about them.
There was something in the Bible as well about these wealthy people who are not on your side. And look at Nigel Farage, you know, wanted all these people on his side for his little walk from Sunderland via Doncaster and into London in time for the Brexit day. He spent an hour on the bus.
You just keep going off the edge. Sorry.
He spent an hour on the bus. And he's now not been seen. This is a man who wouldn't even get on a bus with you, and he uses private jets and all this kind of stuff to go to Strasbourg, and so he's a man of the people, is he? You're voting for this person. And what is it else in the Bible? The last shall be first, and the first shall be last.
It's easier for you to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man in the kingdom of God.
Yes.
Not Christian upbringing there, Christian schooling.
We just know the Bible.
Priest totally touches.
So the desperation on the other side is palpable, but the fact is that it looks like we're either going to get a deal next week with the MPs just voting for it because it's that or no deal apparently, or we got no deal. But the thing is, Theresa May still has an option, which is to revoke Article 50, which you don't have to ask Parliament. We don't have to ask the EU's permission. We can do it unilaterally.
It has to be voted on by both houses.
Does it?
Yes. It has to be voted on by the Commons and the House of Lords.
Can you move back a little bit? Because I think you're out of focus.
Some would say that's a good thing.
But it's still unilaterally in the sense of
the country
can do it.
The country can do it, but it has to be voted on through democratic process.
Because I mean that's a thing. Even if they put through May's deal, and I heard this today, it doesn't solve the issue because the Brexiteers aren't happy with it, and the Remainers certainly aren't happy with it. So this even if May's deal gets voted through, it's still going to continue because no one's actually happy with the deal they've got. It's not true Brexit, and it's not.
Well, then that's just a withdrawal agreement. We were talking about a deal. There's no trade deal in this.
No, there isn't.
This is a withdrawal agreement, and then we've got another bloody 2 years
or
to
more.
put a trade deal together.
Yeah.
It's going to go on and on.
This is a withdrawal agreement that was voted down by the biggest majority ever in the history of our Parliament, and the fourth biggest majority ever in the history of our Parliament.
No, I think it was the third.
No, it was the fourth.
Fourth.
Google it.
Very important.
Get out your Googles.
Someone want to be corrected in the comments.
I'm missing a bit of Jason Hunter in these podcasts. Can we get Jason back?
Well, he is the better looking one out of all of us, isn't he?
we need a little, like the guy Joe Rogan has, like popping things up on the screen. We need like a little guy for that in the background on a laptop.
Rogan?
Who's Joe Rogan? And you call yourself a podcaster?
Who's Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan's
I don't call myself a podcaster at all.
I don't call myself a podcaster.
Doesn't smoke
I
enough
call
DMT.
myself a pubcaster.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What's
Cheers.
a podcaster? Is it someone who casts pods of seeds out into the fields? Right.
That's it.
Anyway,
that's what we're going to be doing in no deal situations.
Well, that's
Plenty of
right.
rabbits in the field, apparently. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
What do you guys... Paul, what do you think's going to happen?
All bets are off. I think it's an inevitability that it has to be delayed. Honestly, mate, at the minute it is all up in the air. Well, I know what I'd like to happen. Even the argument of revoke Article 50 and then the Brexiteers can go back to the drawing board and assess and then build a plan and move forward.
Yeah.
But we could use that position to just, dig our heels and remain in the EU. That's what I'd like. That's a sensible option.
I think that's a sensible option. The Brexiteers, if you really want Brexit, how about coming up with a plan for Brexit and then we'll put that to the people?
Well, they've come up with a plan. It's just not one that everyone can agree on.
Not even,
No, they haven't come up with a plan. They've just said WTO. But they started saying that.
It's the absence of a plan.
I started seeing "Let's go WTO" after people started doing 3 blokes in a pub. Nobody mentioned this at the time of the referendum.
So it's our fault. We went, hang on.
We educated
let's
people
go to
into something that we
Geneva
don't want.
and speak to the trade experts in Geneva who just told us, like, guys, it's the maddest thing you could possibly do.
It's insanity, isn't it?
You're going to take away all of the deals you've got. All of your trade deals are going to go, and you have to renegotiate worse ones. By law, they have to be worse, because part of the trade deal is they can't give anyone else preferential treatment.
Yep.
Especially if they're not part of the club, if they're not part of the EU, if they're not part of CETA or part of the EU-Japan agreement. You're coming in and saying, hey, can we have the same deal as the EU? And they'll be like, how many customers have you got? 65 million? Okay, well, the EU's got 500 million, so we're going to give them preferential treatment because they've got more money and more people.
Correct us if I'm wrong, but I think it's literally part of the Japan deal where no one can have a deal as good or better.
It's
It could be as good, but it can't be better without making it better for the EU as well.
It's in every trade deal the EU have got, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like we want the best deal, which is fair enough.
And the thing is, Liam Fox, who wants to be a real boy, did say...
Is that an account of his woodenness or his lies? Or just his lies, okay.
And Liam Fox said that we can get better trade deals with the EU than anyone else can. No, we can't.
No.
And that has been proven. So every single thing that they told you, I can't call it a lie because I'm better than that. But every single thing that they told us, none of it has come true. None of it has come to pass.
Protect your microphone, sir. Protect it. No, don't touch it. Just it's okay. The wind has gone.
You know what's mad as well? I think that
Everything about this.
Yeah, oh yeah. But I think we probably could have got a good deal. But the problem was because it was such a public discussion and it was in the tabloids, and the tabloids were calling them Nazis and Soviet Union people and this and that. And the point was discussed so much. If it had been gone on behind closed doors, like most of the other trade deals that happened with other countries, I think it would have went a lot better. Definitely. But it was almost like, I'm going to get a good deal. Watches. And then so the source coming.
So you're saying it was sort of more of a my dad's bigger than your dad sort of thing.
Sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sort of,
But
we've said it's going to be.
We have got trade deals now in place with the Faroe Islands,
Fiji,
and Papua New Guinea.
Papua
New Guinea, which are going to save us £19 million in tariffs.
I've not seen anything imported from PNG.
I think Boris Johnson spent nearly 3 times that amount on a bridge that was invisible.
But then can you imagine if it's proportional to the trade we do with Papua New Guinea, imagine what we're going to be missing out with like our largest trading partner, like the fees that's going to be involved if we're already 19 mil out of pocket.
Sorry, we're just shaking the camera there.
Sorry.
But yeah, Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea.
Seriously?
I've been there.
I've been to Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
Where did you go? Did you go to Ley?
Doesn't matter where I went out, but it's.
Are you sure you went? Port Moresby.
Port Moresby was where we used to fly into, but
lovely place.
It's not entirely renowned for having imports of Nissan cars built in Sunderland.
Nope.
Didn't see many of them.
That's a good idea. That's a good point. They do have like one of the biggest gold mines in the world in Papua New Guinea. I think the biggest is in West Papua, but they do have a lot of natural resources.
They do.
But what are we going to sell them to keep our balance of trade?
Not many people are going to buy Land Rovers there.
Okay, well, forget about physical goods. A lot of our stuff that we sell are services. So what sort of financial services can we sell them?
In terms of banking and investment, it's not exactly Luxembourg, is it?
No. Do you know what is Luxembourg?
Luxembourg. Big.
And also, I mean, one of the things that people seem to think is that the EU stops us having trade deals. Well, actually, the EU facilitates the most number of trade deals of any trade bloc in the world.
So we have trade deals with 27 other countries, and in fact, we have, that's just in the EU. Then we've got another 3 or 4 when it comes to the EEA and Switzerland. And then we've got, is it another 70 on top of that with other countries around the world?
They're
bilateral
good
agreements.
No, they're just bilateral agreements. They are really good, comprehensive agreements that
But they're
cover a lot of
facilitated
things.
through the EU.
Yeah, there's a comprehensive free trade agreement with Canada. There's one with Singapore. There's
one
with
with
South
Japan.
Korea, and an amazing one with Japan, which came online in February. Now, it's not zero tariffs just yet. It will be soon. It's over time the tariffs come down and eventually will be zero. But the fact is, Japan's going to have a better trade deal with the EU than we are. And then you look at someone like Toyota or Nissan, who are Japanese. Why would they stay here?
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't, because the free trade agreement that they've got will allow them to sell their cars into the EU without tariffs. And that is one of the reasons that Nissan set up in this country, was to get around common market rules at the time. But the thing is, we've given them another excuse to pull their industries out, because the EU will put a 10% tariff on the cars that we assemble here and sell into the EU. 90% of the cars built in Honda, at the Honda plant in Swindon, at Nissan in Sunderland, at Toyota at Derby, 90% of them were exported to the EU.
Yeah.
Wow, was that much?
It was 90%, and that's why these plants were set up, was so that the Japanese could sell into what was the common market tariff-free. If you add a tariff onto it, and then you remove the tariff from the home from the home nation,
That's your profit margin, isn't it?
there's not much profit in cars. You ask any car dealer.
Yeah.
The profit is in spares and repairs.
Wow.
Crazy. Well, here we go.
Oh,
There we go.
here we go.
So we've got
Theresa May.
Theresa May. I'm going to edit this into the video if it's any good. Hopefully she'll resign.
Nearly 3 years have passed since the public voted to leave the European Union. It was the biggest democratic exercise in our country's
God's sake,
history.
It wasn't democratic.
I came to
democratic.
office on a promise to deliver on that verdict. In March 2017, I triggered the Article 50 process for the UK to exit the EU.
Without a plan.
And what sort of
Parliament
fool were you for doing
supported
that
it
then?
Overwhelmingly. 2 years on, MPs have been unable to agree on a way to implement the UK's withdrawal. As a result, we will now not leave on time with a deal
We'll
on
not
the
leave.
29th of
Full stop.
March. This delay is a matter of great personal regret for me. And of this I am absolutely sure. You, the public, have had enough.
We've had enough of
You're
you.
tired
enough
of the
of Brexit, love.
infighting. You're tired of the political games and the arcane procedural rows.
Oh God, she's
Tired of
gonna take over.
MPs talking
She's
about
gonna have a coup
nothing
d'etat.
else but Brexit.
There's some army
When
guys
you have
who want
real
to go on
concerns about our
AK-47 under
children's
that.
schools, our National Health Service, knife crime.
Yeah, we need our National Health Service because it's
You
the
want
last thing
this
that we can
stage
sell
of the
the
Brexit
Yanks
process
that
to
we
be
own.
over and done with. I agree. I am on your side.
Am I?
you're
No,
not.
you're
It is
not.
now time for MPs to decide. So today I have written to Donald Tusk, the
Yes, we know.
President of the European Council,
Yes, we know.
to request a short extension of Article 50 up to the 30th of June to give
he's already
MPs
said
the
no.
time to make a final choice. Do they want to leave the EU with a deal which delivers on the result of the referendum, that takes back
Frauderendum.
control of our money, borders and laws, while protecting jobs and
How
our
about we
national
have an
security?
inquiry?
Do they want to leave without a deal? Or do they not want to leave at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Causing
Right,
potentially irreparable damage to public trust,
Oh, unlike
not
the
just in
current
this
process.
generation of politicians, but to our entire democratic process.
I don't trust any of you.
There's none of
It
you
is
worth
high
of our
time
trust.
we made a decision. So far, Parliament has done everything possible to avoid making a choice. Motion after motion and amendment after amendment has been tabled without Parliament ever deciding what it wants. All MPs have been willing to say is what they do
This
not
sounds a lot
want.
like a referendum.
I passionately hope MPs will find a way to
No.
back the deal I've negotiated
You know, she won't
with
win a
the
referendum.
EU. A deal that delivers on the result of the referendum and is the very best deal negotiable. And I will continue to work night and day
This
to
is it.
secure the
She's
support
not
of
gonna
my
say anything
colleagues, the DUP,
The
and
premise of
others
that was
for this
basically
deal.
MPs and Parliament can't
But
make
I
up
am
a
not
mind.
prepared to delay Brexit any further than the 30th of June.
You can't anyway.
Some argue that I'm making the wrong choice, and I should ask for a longer extension to the end of the year or beyond,
a lot, but it doesn't mean
to give
anything.
more time
How
for
about people's
politicians
vote?
to argue over the way forward. That would mean asking you to vote in European elections nearly 3 years after our country decided to leave.
The undemocratic EU
What
elections.
kind of message would that send? And
send the message
just
that
how
the
bitter and
referendum
divisive
was
would that election
corrupted
campaign
by
be?
cheating.
At a time when the country desperately needs bringing back together. Some have suggested holding a second referendum.
Yes.
I don't believe that's what you want,
Yes,
and
it is, you
not
daft-
what I want. We asked you the question already, and you gave us your answer. Now, you want us to get on with it, and that is what I am determined to do.
So we have waited all day for a statement that lasted, what, 2 minutes?
It wasn't a statement. Like, what did she tell us that we didn't already know?
She's tried to appeal to the working man and woman, the average working man and woman in the UK. Well, I know people who are already losing their jobs. I don't see many politicians in the job centre with them.
Do you not think that there was something else going to be announced? Because we waited almost an hour for that.
No, I'm sorry, but I wasn't really thinking there was going to be anything amazing.
But she didn't say anything.
I know. That's
No,
what,
she
that's
never
what
does.
Theresa May
I
does.
believe.
That's what all the Brexiteers do. They have sound bites and they pretend to appeal to people, but it's like...
But poll
witchcraft.
after poll shows that the majority of people in this country want another referendum.
Yeah.
And she can say, I don't believe these people that what they want, but obviously...
We're in a belief-based political system at the moment as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's all
about
facts.
your god friend who...
Yeah, it's all right, guys. Jesus wants
Yeah,
Brexit.
Jesus wants Brexit.
And when we're all starving and eating
Jesus
mice
for
in the
Brexit.
fields, you can just turn the water into wine and the fish out of nowhere.
The thing is-
5 loaves and 2 small fish.
The thing is, we get accused of being a bit too apocalyptic in our sort of view of what's going to happen with all this. And, you know, to be fair, I think we've been quite measured. I think in the way that was said, listen, this is a really bad idea. But I keep saying this, we've got a minister for food distribution. That should have been the end of it.
We've had no deal Brexit planning. Chris Grayling, what a guy. Failing Grayling as he's known. Couldn't organise a traffic jam. I drive 1,000 miles a week and I'm in a lot of traffic jams, so how Chris Grayling...
Sorry, we're protecting the
trying to
microphones.
cover our mics a bit.
Set up as if they're...
Sorry, we interrupted your soliloquy. Do you want to move back a little bit? Because I think you're out, because he's trying to focus on all three of us.
All right, okay.
And also it makes you
I'm
look
not-
very red.
I'm not that good with
Come closer,
technology.
come
Well, I'm
closer.
sort of red because I'm...
There you go. Oh, he'll fit in nicely. Look at that.
Look at that, we're a right team.
So go
But
on.
Chris Grayling, Failing Grayling, decided that he would put in ferry contracts without going out to tender, which is against British law. Forget EU law. It's against
Politician breaking the law.
surprise, quelle surprise, as they would say.
Again.
But he decided to put it out to 3 companies: DFDS, a Danish company, Brittany Ferries, a French company, and a company called Seaborne Freight, who had no ferries and whose terms and conditions were off a takeaway pizza website. Right? That was worth how many millions? Just that one was worth close to £20 million. Eurotunnel said they broke the law, and to prevent evidence coming out into the public domain in a court case, he decided to buy them off with £33 million.
Oh, well, that negates the £19 million of tariffs that were saved on the stuff that we buy from Papua New Guinea.
Can we just spend 2 seconds talking about the Brexit march, which is fantastic?
Oh, the March for Brexit.
Yeah.
I hope that's going really well for you. I live not too far from Doncaster.
I think it's just walked past 2 minutes ago.
All three of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope to see both of you in the Weatherspoons in Doncaster when you get there.
Do you know what would be really mischievous, though, if some people sort of got almost the same URL and then put like a fake site up that had loads of misinformation on it?
Realistically,
I
it didn't
think
need it. Overkill, to say the
Shut
least.
up, best 50 quid I ever spent.
But no, I mean, is it not just a gigantic metaphor for the entire Brexit
It
process?
is. When you consider 700,000 people or more marched on a warm autumnal day last year, they're expecting somewhere in the region of another 150,000 this weekend, is it?
Yeah, definitely.
100,000 maybe. But they're certainly bussing people in from all over the country this coming Saturday, and they've had about 70 people marching from Sunderland to Middlesbrough on a road that was actually closed because they didn't realise the Tees transport
It's just like
was
overpromised,
closed on a Sunday.
under-delivered, out left alone, out in the rain. Like Farage has abandoned them. They charged them 50 quid.
50 quid.
I thought that was a wind-up. Like that just highlights it's just all. By hedge funders and city boys trying to make a Bitcoin.
They are not on your side. They're not on your side.
Well, Nigel Farage went to private school, and he's a millionaire, and he's a city banker.
Yeah.
Well, it rhymes with banker.
Boris Johnson is a millionaire, and he went to private school.
And he said that being a Conservative minister at the time said, fuck business. The party of business. When aerospace said, British aerospace, wasn't it? They said, we will have problems with no deal Brexit. And he said, fuck business.
And it's staggering. Jeremy Corbyn went to private school. He is a millionaire. He's not your friend. He's not a buddy who's going to help you along the way. We are seeing more people going to food banks than ever in the history of the United Kingdom. We've got more people on the streets than at any point in British history. These are the stats that no one's talking about. Someone mentioned, we've got really good employment. Because these days, if you work for an hour a week, that's employment.
Yeah.
They don't include people who are on the streets.
We're all from northern industrial towns. It wasn't the EU that destroyed our industry. It wasn't the EU that closed down our ports and docks. Liverpool was famous for the port, wasn't it? And it's still got a big port, but it's nowhere near what it was. We've lost these traditional heartlands, and these people have sold you a pup. They've sold you a dream by giving you someone to blame, and that's the EU.
Well, I think people are waking up to this. I've actually spoken to some Brexiteers recently who have actually sort of said and admitted that the politicians and the tabloids have had this convenient thing to blame the EU for everything. I think
not
people
just
are
the
waking
tabloids.
up. I really do.
Not just the tabloids. Rupert Murdoch owns one tabloid and he owns a broadsheet. But what's the name of the brothers who own...
Barclay Brothers?
Is it Barclay Brothers who own the Telegraph and the Ritz?
And the Ritz Hotel.
The Ritz Hotel.
And they're running headlines about how the elites are... We're the elites. This is us.
Yeah.
In a pub in Durham. On a Wednesday night.
Durham is full of a few elites. Definitely.
Is it?
Yeah, the uni anyway.
Oh, yeah, the university.
But other than that, we're local lads.
Thanks for ruining me point there, Paul.
So
I'm practicing this conversation.
Got a fact check. But no, it's like all, like I say, all the hedge funders, and when apparently there's an investigation going on with Nigel Farage now, where because he said on the night of the referendum that he's got friends in the city, so the hedge funders were conducting their own polling through different various companies, right? Which is actually illegal, right? You're not actually allowed to use polling information for
illegality
financial
illegality in the referendum.
Twice he's quoted throughout the night of quoting these polls where they're doing exit polls and saying, we've lost. That's why he conceded twice through the night. So now there's an investigation. Well, why were you working so closely with hedge funders? What's your relationship with these hedge funders? And then they found 3 big capital funds have invested like over 5 million, 300 million on the night of the referendum on bets to bet against the market, basically.
So this is almost as well, this is like the multi-millionaire Aaron Banks, who runs his own insurance companies, which I think one of them's called Skippy Insurance, right? And he was using his own staff in the companies to cold call people polling for Brexit. So where's the democracy in that?
Where did they stop cheating? Was there any point where they went, we better not do this because it'll be cheating?
Oh, hang on, didn't they, when everyone said, we'll stop campaigning in respect of Joe Cox, in respect for Joe Cox and her murder, and Aaron Banks said, let's go for it. What a crackerjack guy
and they've just been done for the hundreds of thousands of unsolicited texts.
Yes.
That's the 40 grand fine.
£40,000 fine for 100 and something plus thousand, or close to 1 million, was it? I can't remember the exact figure, but thousands of text messages unsolicited.
I'd love to know what they said.
How is this democratic? How is this even the beginning of democracy?
So Theresa May says the democratic will of the people.
It seems to be the very, very undemocratic will of people who went to private school.
The elite.
The actual elites, not us. We're not the elites. I wish I was. Like, to have loads of
We're
money.
sat out here in the cold.
Yeah, I know.
In front of a giant castle, doing a really, really good job of looking non-elite.
The giant castle.
But we're outside the castle.
Cathedral, technically, sorry.
But we're outside the castle. If we were elite, we'd be inside
It's a full moon today, so the castle kind of looks like Castle Dracula or something. It's really cool. You don't expect like a giant bat to fly out and, I don't know, suck everyone's blood. Yeah. Anyway, so we're in this mad situation. We are a week away from leaving the EU, apparently.
1,000 days since the referendum.
For an extension, but the EU said you can't have it. They can't have that much of an extension. She's got to have another vote, but the other MPs, the Speaker of the House has told her she can't have another vote.
Yes, because you can't. I mean, it was tenuous that she did the second vote, wasn't it?
But the thing is, the easiest way out for all of these knobheads is just to say, let's have a referendum. Yeah. Let's find out what the people want.
These are our respected
It's
leaders
the
you're
easiest
talking
way
about.
out. No, people go, oh, if you have another one and you lose, you'll just be moaning about it. And I'm like, no, I'll actually respect it. If there's no cheating. And I don't want a second referendum. I want a first one without any cheating.
Make it legally binding.
Make it legally binding.
And
if
it has
anyone
to be
cheats,
a supermajority as well.
We go, okay, well, someone cheated, so we're not going to allow it to stand.
But the thing is, if this was actually a legally binding referendum, the result of it would have been delayed. But because it's not a legally binding referendum, it doesn't have to be investigated.
Which is nuts.
So where's the democracy in that?
Did that Grayling say? Was it Grayling?
Failing Grayling?
No. There's a barrister on Twitter, and he posted that there was a ruling that because it was so many illegalities and so many problems broken.
Is Twitter like podcasting?
Oh, for heaven's sake!
I was watching the Parliament thing today, and they're getting most of their news from Twitter because Theresa May is like not revealing things and like different documents and stuff. Insane, man.
So we're in this situation where nobody knows what's happening. The Prime Minister doesn't seem to know what's happening. Parliament doesn't seem to know what's happening. The EU don't know what's happening. They're preparing for anything. But this time, in 2 weeks, we could be out without a deal, which means we have no trade deals with anyone, anywhere in the world.
Liechtenstein.
No, we've got a trade deal with Liechtenstein. Sorry, there's more companies registered in Liechtenstein than actual people who live there.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's the only country in the world that's actually named after a living family, the Liechtenstein family. They still live there, up on a castle on the hill.
Wasn't Peter Sellers in a film about a similar sort of principality?
Yes, The Mouse That Roared.
That was it.
That was a great movie.
Are you Alexa? That was so quick.
I secretly moonlighted.
Graham, what was that film called?
I think it was a 1964 movie with Peter Sellers called The Mouse That Roared.
The Mouse That Roared. Because they went to war with America in it, didn't they?
They did, and they won.
Cool.
The idea was
Could
that
we
they
do
were
that
going...
and kill Trump?
No, no. I don't think we'd win, for starters. But that's another thing that people go... The arguments against the EU are becoming more and more facile and becoming more and more extremely extreme and stupid. And this EU army thing just really annoys me because it's kind of like... You do know that 22 members of the EU are also members of NATO.
Yeah, we're already a part of...
Which is our gang. Sorry, do we want to team up with the Russians or the Chinese? What's the idea here?
It's just bizarre, isn't it?
Team up with our neighbours against the Russians and the Chinese.
Loads of soldiers from Papua New Guinea, like...
Yeah, in their loincloths.
Riding at the battle.
In their loincloths.
What's your sort of favourite thing that someone said to you, like, as a justification for all this madness? Or probably least favourite, I should say. But what's something that people say and you just go, oh, for God's sake?
Oh, it's always the same thing. I mean, what's this Article 24 that I keep hearing about, GATT? And I'm saying that is from laws from the mid-90s, before the WTO was even created. Yeah. And they pull these facts out of midair, and it takes 2 minutes to fact check them. But people don't believe in facts and empirical data. As someone once said in one of these videos, they just believe in Brexit. And in my industry, in my job, and this is one of the reasons we went to Southampton, you go to these ports and you see 1 million containers being moved in and out of the port every year. That's a huge amount of trade.
Every year? It's a lot more than that. In a year?
1 million containers were moved out of the port of Tilbury in 1 year. 1 million containers. Wow. That's one port moving into the UK. Wow. Moving containers into... That was by rail. That wasn't even taking the road transport into it. And people are saying, oh, no deal, no problem. And we can or to beat the logjam that no deal will cause, we can say, throw open the borders. How is that taking back control of our borders?
For the ones, that's all we want is drugs and immigrants. It was going to be great.
The best one was, and because I think it was there was a lot of drama last week. I forget what actually happened. It was announced that the whole secret idea that the Brexiteers and the ERG have been keeping under secrecy about the Irish border problem was that they were going. And I'm not joking. I thought it was like an actual joke or satire online. Is an honesty box at the border? This is the technology they've come up with. I'm going to have an honesty box, like you see in like little farms when people like have a potato and you want a potato, so you put in like a penny
we
farthing or
used to have
whatever.
Honesty boxes outside the golf course in New Zealand where I lived.
So you ride up on your horse and cart, and there's an honesty box at the side of the road.
Won't have a horse, we'll have had to have eaten it.
Well, exactly, and it's like, is this really the sophisticated modern international Britain we're talking about with like honesty boxes at the side of the road?
But this is Dominic Raab, isn't it? I mean, this is Dominic Raab who said, I didn't realise how important Dover was to trade in this country.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to give...
He's a Conservative Party leadership candidate, by the way.
I'd like to give the three blokes a pat on the back, because we've been right about everything. And now, the best one was in our very first
Should be
episode.
called Three Women in a Pub.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, there is
International Women's Week.
there is three birds in a
in the
wine
very
bar.
first episode, Kieran pointed out that pallets of wood wouldn't, in a no-deal situation, British pallets wouldn't be allowed to go into the EU.
Oh.
And then 2 weeks ago, the government put out...
We haven't got enough pallets.
And the headline was, government shocked to learn that the pallets were being... I'd be like, you said that 9 months ago in our first podcast. What the hell?
Yep.
Just Google it.
Project Fear, though.
Project Fear.
Don't be ridiculous about pallets until the government announces it.
When I did a talk, this is 2 years ago actually. It was in the April of 2017. I gave a talk in Liverpool where I talked about farming and the impact of a no deal on farming. And what I said in that video was almost word for word, verbatim said by Michael Gove at the farmers meeting the other day. I was like, yeah, it's got to be 40% on lamb, and you're not going to be able to get foreign workers to come over. And we're going to be flooded by cheap imports from everywhere else.
Didn't Jacob Rees-Mogg say that we can remove tariffs on imported beef from Australia, hormone-injected imported beef from Australia that the EU doesn't allow for obvious reasons? And he said we can drop those tariffs, and then the next day Michael Gove said to protect the agri-food sector, he's going to impose tariffs on imported food.
Should make his mind up.
No, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Michael Gove said exactly the opposite thing one day after each other.
So who wanted to bring in tariffs and who didn't? Michael Gove wanted tariffs.
Michael Gove said to protect
farmers.
Farming.
Yeah, because he's a farmer.
Agri-food, the agri-food sector, he's going to ensure tariffs are imported in the event of no deal. And the day before, Jacob Rees-Mogg, another working class guy from the northeast, he was
Man of the people.
Man of the people.
I remember doing
Definitely
my apprenticeship with him in British Steel.
Play Sunday League down in Gateshead.
Yeah, he was in the rugby team with us.
Good old Jakey.
Jacob, good lad. He said, of course we can reduce tariffs, and it'll mean cheaper
Everything.
Cheaper beef. He actually said cheaper beef from Australia, hormone-injected beef from Australia. And he said, I'd eat it quite perfectly, with no worries at all. Fill your boots, as far as I'm concerned. But it will decimate our industry. Our steel industry is going into meltdown. Oh, there's a pun in there, isn't there? About the zero tariffs. I'm speaking to guys who I worked with at Tata and at what is the new British Steel in Rotherham, and they're saying as soon as the government announced no tariffs on steel, investment just stopped.
Well, go on.
Just business in general. Like I used to live next to a guy from Liverpool actually, and he.
I like him already.
Yeah, exactly. And he worked for. I was quite high up in like a merchant, like a when you make a card payment, they handle all the transfers and stuff. And they were based in Germany and Newcastle, believe it or not. And I met him in the bar after the referendum, and I was like, obviously, just having a chat about it. I was like, so how's it going to affect you? And he went, well, it isn't. And I went, oh, well, I was thinking maybe I've got this wrong, maybe it's a less impact. He says, we'll just move the company to Dublin. Just overnight, done.
Yeah.
And then you realise it is that easy. They can just transfer the limited company, and that's when the accountant does, that's where all the tax gets paid. And how many other companies like that will exist?
I'd just like to say there are winners in Brexit and no deal. The Netherlands, the Republic of Ireland, they are mopping up our businesses.
But the impact on the Republic of Ireland is going to be massive.
Yeah, but they're still getting businesses.
The cross-border trade's insane. We do more trade with Ireland than we do with Brazil, Russia, India and China and South Africa put together.
That's the BRICS group of countries, isn't it?
But
the thing is that they are making benefits because they're getting these financial services going on.
In the long term, they've got a lot of money going there. And the £1 trillion worth of assets that Andre on the radio told me earlier, it doesn't matter. They move around all the time. There's only 8 trillion in assets in London. 1/8 of that has gone to other countries, and they're EU countries. Now, you don't really necessarily get tax on those assets, but you get tax on the profits of those assets. And anyone handling those assets in this country will have a job. They'll be very well paid, so they'll be paying 40% tax. That money is not going to the tax. It's not going into the tax fund anymore.
This is money lost from the revenue, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of money, and we're going to have to wrap it up because I'm afraid we've got to.
I'm cold.
You're cold. We're all quite miserable about the situation. But just before I go, I just want to make this really important point. No deal is going to be absolutely catastrophic for the United Kingdom, but May's deal is going to be twice as catastrophic. This is the government's own figures. Twice as catastrophic as the credit crunch.
As the GFC.
Right? So the government's own figures say that under Theresa May's deal, the economy is going to take a 4% hit. It's going to be 16% up here in the north, in the northeast, but down in London and everywhere else, overall, it's going to be 4%. The credit crunch was 2%.
Really?
So it's going to be twice as bad as that. And that 4% in the small print says if we get really good trade deals with America and India and China.
And India already asked for a trade deal, saying that they wanted easier freedom of movement with the UK.
We said no already.
And we said no already.
But I'm just going to ask quickly before we go, what's the only nationalised thing we've got left to sell in the United Kingdom?
The NHS. The jewel in our crown.
We can't sell the railways, we've already sold them. We can't sell the
we could sell any LNER again.
Yeah. we can't sell the telecoms companies. We can't sell company. We can't sell all the other things that were privatised. It's all been privatised.
The Royal Mail.
Except for the NHS.
Everything's gone. All the family silver is gone.
And I thought it was very telling when Theresa May was asked straight up in the House of Parliament, would you allow the Americans to put the NHS as part of a trade deal? And she wouldn't answer the question.
Oh, silence speaks volumes.
So...
They won.
What, the Americans won or the Russians won?
Both
or the Chinese or the Indians or anyone but us?
The Nazis.
Wow.
Ooh, strong word.
So we'll try and do this again next week.
Let's do it.
Because I'm sorry we've not been on the ball so much with the Three Blokes episodes in the last couple of months, but we've been setting up. Paul and I have been very busy setting up Project Hope, which is a sort of a light in the darkness, isn't it? We're trying to set it up so that we can create positive EU content for the internet, just to counter the bullshit that's out there.
Counterpunch the propaganda. We are not changing to the euro in 2020. We like in 9 months.
Yeah,
we would know about
that. So well, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, no worries,
Sheffield.
Mate. Anytime.
Came up from Sheffield. Thanks for coming down from Chesterley Street.
Right, you picked us up.
And thanks again. And let's hope that we can all one day
celebrate.
Stop Brexit.
Stop Brexit.
If you watch this video before Saturday, I'll see you on Saturday at the march.
In closing, can I say bollocks to Brexit on this?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I said fuck.
Yeah, it was just Jason that allowed us to swear.
It was always like, don't swear, but Anyway, so cheers. Bollocks
to Brexit.
Cheers.
Cup of tea.